This podcast was produced on the lands of the Cubby Cubby people. We pay respects to elders past, present, and emerging, and thank them for how they have lovingly cared for and preserved the land, natural resources, and bush medicine in which we are inspired by today. Welcome to the Students of Natural Health podcast. My name is Dana Laura. I'm a student naturopath from Australia. And joining me on today's episode, we have the lovely Yasmin. She is also from the Brisbane, sort of Logan area, and she's currently a fourth year Bachelor of Acupuncture student. I want to extend a really warm welcome to the pod. Hello, Yasmin.
Hello. Thanks for having me on.
Thank you for agreeing to be on. I'm excited to interview you. The first question I would like to ask is, what is your origin story? What motivated you to choose acupuncture?
It started when I started having health problems myself when I was 17. I had to have surgery on one of my kidneys. And then as a result of that surgery, I ended up with high blood pressure. And because I don't know if you're aware or people listening, there's a part of the kidneys that can control blood pressure. Yeah. So
it's an amazing organ. Hey, very dynamic.
It is. Yeah. So that happened when I was 17. And then I was told that I had to be medicated for the high blood pressure for the rest of my life, but also that I'd have to take the pill, which would increase my blood pressure. So it was kind of like a funny message. And then also they're like, oh, by the way, yeah, the reason you have to take the pill is because you can't fall pregnant on this medication because you'll end up having a child with birth.
And they told you you had to be on this for the rest of your life.
They're like, yes, yeah, otherwise you're at risk of having a stroke and all that sort of thing.
Oh my gosh, that's so heavy hitting for a 17-year-old.
Yeah. So that kind of pushed me to go towards alternative medicine. I didn't want to take the medication for a long time. I've never really, I really appreciate Western medicine and medication when it's needed, but I'm the type of person that prefers to not take medication if it's not necessary.
Of course.
But anyway, I had to take it at the time. And I found this lovely older lady that was practicing TCM, Chinese medicine, and acupuncture. And she started treating me, and I didn't need the blood pressure medication anymore. My blood pressure went down. So she was giving me herbs and acupuncture. That's where the love of acupuncture started for me.
Wow.
My own experience. Yeah.
How beautiful. I think that's a common that they have an experience themselves, and then they have this incredible experience with a natural health practitioner, and it makes them go, yeah, I'm going to do that.
Yeah, I just remember thinking, wow, this lady's psychic. She would feel my pulse and be like, your digestion's off, or like things that I hadn't even mentioned. And I was just like, what is this magic? Yeah. And I felt amazing. And then, once that was done, I kept getting it because it was just helping every aspect of my life. My period cycles were regular, no period pain. And I had terrible period pain as a teenager. And so, I just kept on getting the treatments regularly.
For somebody that's never heard of your profession, would you be able to explain what kind of, just like really briefly explain sort of what the gist of it is, and perhaps some of the subjects you might study?
Traditional Chinese medicine, there are lots of modalities in that. Acupuncture is probably the most well-known part, but it's an ancient medicine. It's one of those things as well with Chinese medicine. This is probably off topic, so
no, go for it.
Sorry if it's too much, but the translation is a different thing, because I don't know if you're aware of how, Chinese language, they've got characters. So every word is a character, and it's basically a picture and tells a whole story. So one word, like people are like, what is qi? And that's a massive foundation of Chinese medicine. And it's like, well, it's not really something I can explain as one translated word. It's a concept. So qi, for example, is a picture of rice boiling, a pot of rice boiling, and then steam coming off it. And the qi is the steam. So it tells a story that it's like the invisible kind of energy. That's probably not the right word, energy.
No, I can relate to that, especially like from a naturopathic foundation. Like we talk about the vital force that drives the body. Without it, you're just a sack of meat and bones.
Yeah, that's right. So it's basically, like what you said. So that's one of the foundations is qi, and people might have heard of yin and yang. So there's a lot of concepts involved in it. I haven't got a spiel down pat yet because I'm just still a student, but how I would describe acupuncture is basically like there's a meridian system in the body, and we put little needles in. They're very fine, so you shouldn't feel pain with them. And it's basically like an antenna going here, here, like come here, fix this area. Any pain in Chinese medicine is that there's not a smooth flow of qi, or there's stagnation there.
Yeah,
So the
beautiful.
needles help to move the stagnation. And that can sound really woo-woo to people who haven't studied it, but it's not. There's mechanisms involved that have been studied through Western medicine, and I probably wouldn't be able to explain off the top of my head.
It's also a
Yeah,
practice of medicine that's existed before the microscope. Like they've had to use
it
terms
has.
in a way
Yeah.
that made sense to them at the time thousands of years ago, right?
Yeah, and because of the way that Chinese language is so different to English, it's some things just can't be translated.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so that's where it becomes difficult to explain. Yeah, but it's not some woo-woo thing. It can sound like it, like I said, because of the way the language is kind of poetic.
Yeah.
And it also obviously incorporates, it's holistic. So it's not just like with Western medicine where, you know, it's mechanical, different organs. Everything is intertwined and linked. And we include treating the spirit, and people's emotions are a big part of the disease in
Beautiful.
Chinese medicine too.
And
Yeah.
I'm sure any of our listeners that have experienced acupuncture, they know exactly what you're talking about. Like anybody who's had it, they go, "Oh yeah, it works." It's not just woo woo. Like
Yes.
I personally have had acupuncture, and that helped me with my infertility. I ended up
Yeah.
going after failed rounds of IVF and problems with my menstrual cycle. And I tell everyone to this day, my acupuncturist got me pregnant. Like, like
Yeah.
3 sessions
Yeah.
in, and how was I having these incredible results that I couldn't get from heaps of failed rounds of the
Yeah.
number one, like the highly scientific
Mm-hmm.
procedures. It's incredible. It's incredible. I just don't.
Yeah, it's such a good support for fertility and women's health.
Yeah.
Um, I was working as a receptionist at a fertility acupuncture clinic last year. Yeah, that
Great.
even the fertility specialist doctors generally refer people to get acupuncture while they're getting treatments. Some of them do, most of them, because it is well studied. And I guess also because acupuncture is holistic. I don't know about you, but for me, like I had a really stressful month last month. I treat myself all the time. And so I generally don't have period pain. I had a huge amount of stress with uni, and that month I had period pain. And I
Yeah.
was like, yep, okay. And so that's typically what we would call stagnation. And it's just not recognized to have an effect in Western medicine as much. So,
Yeah,
yeah.
totally. Would you be able to explain what kind of subjects you might study in an acupuncture
Yeah.
degree?
It's a Bachelor of Health Science. So there is a lot of Western medicine in there, anatomy and physiology and biology, biochemistry.
And it's
That's
very
pretty heavy
evidence
throughout.
based too, isn't it?
It's very, very much a Western type of degree. It is obviously, like, we live in this country. So I was a nurse for 10 years. So I got credits for all of those subjects,
Great.
which is great. So I've been studying full time, but I don't have the same workload as everybody else because I don't have to do those subjects. But I did have to do an additional biochemistry, which wasn't included in nursing. So there is a lot of science in there. And then we do also have subjects like foundations of Chinese medicine, which goes through all the philosophies and the basics. We've got history, communications, psychology, and counseling type subjects.
Wow. I didn't
Because
realize
that's
it
a
was so
mass.
rounded. That's
It's
amazing.
huge. Yeah, well, my degree's been 4 years. That was they just changed the degree to 3 years, but I was in the old system. A lot of people are so shocked when they're like, "Oh yeah," they just think it's dry needling, which is just a 2-day course, and they're like, "What? 4 years? Oh my god!" So yeah, it's a full health science degree, and then in the well, it's a second year now, but in the third year when I was doing it, you start to do clinical subjects. So that includes Tui Na, which is Chinese remedial massage, opening up the channels and that sort of thing with massage. And then we go into the acupuncture clinics. And so I am on my third acupuncture clinic. and I've got 3.5 to go. So there's quite a huge amount of actual clinic hours that we do where I'm studying at Endeavour. We're in the clinic. We have real clients coming in and we have to present to our supervisors and they supervise us while we're giving treatments.
Do you personally feel like you're going to be well enough equipped to handle practicing on your own when you leave?
Definitely, yes.
Great.
Yeah. So the first clinic, I was shitting myself, to put it lightly. Can bleep that out. But yeah, I was really nervous the first one. And I mean, there's different supervisors that you have. Some of them are like really lovely and kind, and other approaches are more stern.
Yeah.
And I probably had one of the more stern ones. So that was probably made it a little bit harder. But in my second one, everything just kind of clicked into place and I felt good and confident. And now I'm going in to clinic. I'm in on Mondays at the moment all day. So yeah, now I'm going in feeling really confident. I'm not worried about not knowing what's coming in. I feel like I've got at least the basics down pat. I can treat anything with the basics, and yeah, and I've still got like the whole year to go, lots of clinics. So I'm just going to get more and
Fantastic.
more experience. Yeah.
I'm curious to know, is there potential for things to go wrong if you put a needle in the wrong space, or is it a fairly
Yes.
safe mode of treatment?
It is a safe mode of treatment, definitely, in trained hands. But I mean, we've got organs in our body, and if you drove a long needle in between your ribs, you're going to puncture your lung. That's where I would advise against going somewhere for dry needling, because they've only done like a 1 or 2 day course without any supervision, whereas we've had like 2 years, or well, 4 years of supervision really, but of actual clinic needling. There at the same time, there's not a risk of anything going wrong if you're doing things correctly,
Yeah.
which we're trained to do. So it is very safe. I mean, the worst thing that would probably happen would be bruising,
Yeah.
because obviously we can't see if we're going to hit a little vessel or something like that. But then again, we are trained to know where, the major veins and arteries are, so we avoid those. People get quite dizzy sometimes if they're lying down and they're not used to having energy moving and that sort of thing. They can get up and get a bit faint. It might be the same if you've like meditated and you've felt quite dizzy, if you've gone quite deep and that sort of thing. But so we generally recommend, if you haven't had acupuncture before, just have something light to eat before you go, just so that you don't get that lightheaded feeling or anything like that. But generally, it's all good. People feel wonderful and amazing, and yeah, nothing bad happens. So
That's great. Thank you so much. Thank you. Do you have a particular area of interest within acupuncture?
yeah, I do. Well, I mean, I'm still studying, so I'm open, but I love women's health. I love helping people who have depression and anxiety, any menstrual problems. We haven't had a lot of fertility clients come in because we're at a student clinic,
Yeah.
but when it's been something that's helped me personally.
Yeah. And you'll succeed with that passion behind you. Like,
I do have that passion for it because
yeah.
I've experienced it myself. So yeah.
Yeah. What kind of areas can you go and work in after graduation? And where do you want to go after graduation?
Yeah, so you can start your own practice. There's people that do mobile acupuncture where they drive to people's homes. There's clinics that are already established. Like there's a lot of fertility clinics that like acupuncturists that specialize in fertility. Otherwise, there's also musculoskeletal. So that's pretty big, and pain. So obviously people who have sports types injuries or frozen shoulder, sore elbows, joints, that sort of thing. What I really want to see, I guess because I was a nurse in the past, is I really want acupuncture to be more incorporated in the Western system and in
Yeah.
hospitals.
Yeah.
I would love to see that. I used to do community nursing and there was a lot of palliative care. And this was before I started studying or anything. And just going in and seeing people with uncontrolled pain and nausea, and no matter what medications they were taking, nothing would work. And I just remember thinking they need acupuncture.
Yeah.
It can treat those things. Yeah.
In
So
tandem with their Western treatment and
oh,
their,
definitely.
yeah.
It's not to replace it, but it's a complementary medicine. So working together, I'd love that.
I love that. I love that. Are you still currently working as a nurse while you're studying?
No, I let my registration lapse maybe last year. I just didn't, it's kind of like a security blanket for me, because I've had been a registered nurse for 10 years and I felt confident in that role, but I knew I just didn't want to go back to it. So by me letting my registration lapse, it was taking that final leap to go, I'm not going back to that job,
Yeah.
which was really hard, but I'm so glad I did it.
Would there have been an issue with having registration as a acupuncturist and as a nurse? Like, is it possible to have both, do you think? Or it's not something that you looked into?
I haven't looked into it, but I don't think it would be an issue. Yeah, it's not something I can confidently say yes or no because I never looked into it. But they do complement each other. A lot of people kind of say it's so different. Like I had a bit of backlash with some people. Like I had teachers saying, "Oh, we've got another nurse. Like it's going to be so hard for you to learn TCM," in a joking, fun way. It wasn't really nasty or anything. You know, like nurses always have trouble getting their head around the TCM concepts, but I can see the link.
Yeah.
So it's just said in a different way, you know?
How would you compare your studies this time around compared to the nursing?
Well, I'm going to a college and it's smaller. So it's probably not, I don't know what the right word would be. I don't want to say not as professional.
But the vibe is very different.
It's different because it's not like I went to Griffith University. So it was well established, big company, a lot more probably support maybe in that sense, being such a big company.
Yep.
Because I've been through the transition of the 2 degrees, like they've shortened the degree from 4 years to 3. It's been a little bit of a rocky ride.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. I didn't know if I'd make it. There was some days where I was like, I do not know if I'm going to get through this because I had COVID, all the lockdowns, and then they transitioned the degree. There's just been like a lot of hurdles, but for some reason I've smoothly sailed over those hurdles.
Yeah.
I'm almost there.
My next question actually was what would have been some of the barriers you've had to overcome during your study. So did you start
Well,
before
that's it.
COVID?
Yeah, so I started halfway through 2020, and
What a time.
that was kind of where it was just peaking. I honestly, it was a coincidence. I could not have picked a better time to quit nursing
Yeah.
because I had long service leave and I quit, and then as I was in my long service leave, it went boom, and then all the lockdowns, and then they had glove shortages and none of the supplies around, and I was like, thank God for that.
Yeah, I remember seeing it on TV thinking, oh, you poor things. And I was actually in 2020 studying my first year of nursing, and I backed
were
out.
you?
I went, no,
Yeah,
not for me.
honestly, good choice. I don't know anyone who does it for more than 5 years that doesn't burn out. It's a hard job. And it's not like I hated it. There was parts of it that I really liked, but
Well, you
it's
did it for
not
10
easy.
years, like it's
Yeah,
accounts
I
for
know.
something.
Yeah, it accounts for some PTSD.
Do you feel though
Anyway,
acupuncture you're going to have a really nice balance with work and burnout?
yeah,
Yeah.
that's what I'm hoping for. That's what I'm going to create for myself anyway.
What have been
Yeah,
some of
definitely.
your methods to overcome burnout and low motivation in your degree?
Yeah, that's a good question because like I definitely have had a lot of waves of it. Studying can be really stressful, but what I would recommend and what I do for myself is make sure that I've got some sort of energy work like yoga or qigong that balances me. I really love Kundalini yoga. Even just like a 10-minute session of that in the morning, I just feel clean on the inside doing that. And then also just with the big subjects, like for acupuncture, there's point location, which is a pretty huge subject. We've got to learn most of the acupuncture points, and there's like over 300 that we have to learn. We've got to learn the actions and the indications for each point, the contraindications. It was huge. So I would just recommend anyone who's at that stage of their study, just do small amounts each night. So what worked for me, when you've got to really memorize, I would just get a cup of chamomile tea and just take 5 to 10 minutes before bed and just slowly read over one channel at a time. And I found doing that before bed, it would sink in.
Yeah, nice.
And if you want to get really woo-woo, I don't know if this is too much for people, but what I would do, I pray a lot. So I would
Yeah.
pray for any like ascended masters and guides to infuse the information into my brain.
I
And I
love
remember
that.
Yeah, the first subject that I was doing, channel theory, it's a lot when you first start. You're like, whoa, this is so much information. And I was like, please. And I did my little prayer before bed. And then I had this like Asian man, old master, come visit me in my dreams. And I was just dreaming about acupuncture and channels. It was so funny.
I love
And
that.
I woke up and my head was
Oh, that's
so
so
that
good.
might be a bit out there for some people, but if not, the power of prayer, it works. I do it before every exam, bless every assignment, and it's helped so far.
I was actually reading a study that prayer can increase patient outcomes. Like there's actual studies
Yeah,
on it. If I can find it again, I'll link it in the description. But
yeah, I love that.
I'm all for it.
Yeah.
Have you had a favorite subject that you've studied so far?
Yeah, they've all been a bit challenging, but I'm probably enjoying the clinical subjects at the moment, just doing the practical. I remember when I had to do biochemistry and I was doing that at the same time as foundations of Chinese medicine, and I was really loving the biochemistry. And I was like,
Yeah,
what's going on here? I'm supposed to be focusing on like the Chinese medicine that I love, and I was loving biology and chemistry. So I
it's
did really like it. Was a hard subject, but I liked it.
it's cool that it can surprise you like that too.
Yeah.
What is something you wish you knew before starting this particular degree?
Probably just to do with having more confidence that I can do it. And I probably would have started sooner because, yeah, like I said, I got interested in acupuncture when I was 17, 18, and like I was studying to be a nurse at the time. And then I just got comfortable in nursing, and I had always wanted to study it, but I just didn't because I didn't have the confidence. But yeah, I can do it. Like anyone can study anything. It just takes time,
Yeah.
and it's not as it is hard. I don't know. I was going to say it's not as hard as what you think, but it is.
Is
It's
it
just time
different
consuming.
challenges that you thought?
Yeah, it's time consuming.
Yeah.
That's probably the main thing.
Yeah. What is
Yeah.
something you've learned in your degree that is you've been able to implement in your personal life? You saying
That I
before
can.
that you practice regularly on yourself?
Yes, I do. That's what I do. And I mean I probably do more exercises to center myself and reduce stress. Probably because I've been putting myself through stress of study. So it's kind of forced me to make the time to do those things that like yoga and move my body and meditate and breath work.
We have to talk about your hypnosis training. I noticed on your Instagram that you've
Yes.
done a hypnosis course. How did that come about?
Yeah, that was amazing. So, where I was doing reception last year, she was my acupuncturist, Lee. She's amazing. She organized the hypnosis training. So, she had done it before with a man called Paul Michelle. He was our trainer. But when she does her sessions, she puts the needles in and does a little self guided meditation hypnosis.
Lovely.
And whenever I got treatments, I just loved it so much. So when she was organizing that training, I put my hand up straight away to do it because I definitely want to incorporate it in with my treatments when I finish for
So that
sure.
was something you got provided through your workplace.
No, I paid for it myself,
Yeah.
but she had arranged it. The trainers from Melbourne, so she got a group of us together to do the training with him. It was a 5-day intensive course, and yeah, it was great.
That is really
Yeah.
cool. It's not something that I hear about very often of people studying, but a 5-day course that you can, elevate your practice with. That sounds amazing.
And it was even just transformative for myself. I don't even know how to explain it, but just, yeah, just for me doing it. We did a lot of, we learned some self hypnosis practices like the swan. So you hold your hand. I probably can't explain it because we don't have pictures here, but you're basically asking your subconscious to give you kind of like a pendulum if you've used a pendulum, yes or no questions. And it's like a little tick. And yeah, it's pretty cool. You don't have to actually be in a relaxed state. We're always in a hypnotic state, basically.
Do you need
And
any
yeah,
prior knowledge to do a course like that?
no,
Right.
yeah.
Do you see any more study in your future or are you done?
I'm so done with university degrees. Like I do not want to have to write another essay. Yeah, like I guess 4 years of it, I'm so tired and I'm ready to work and get out there.
Yeah.
But I do love learning. So I'm always going to be studying something, whether that's me studying it on my own or I mean, like we do have to have CPD points every year to be because we're registered with APRA. So I do see myself doing lots of courses for sure.
Are you the only person in your immediate circle that is studying?
Yeah. Yes.
How have you navigated that?
Probably the hardest thing, I guess, like you asked about challenges before. I do have a 6-year-old son, so it's been hard doing the mum life and studying, and then here and there working in between,
Yeah.
juggling that.
I can
Um,
relate to that already. Having toddlers,
yeah,
it's difficult to sometimes explain, oh, I'm so sorry, I've got to sit down
yes,
and study, or
I know. And it was actually easier when he was at daycare, even though he only went to day. I don't know how I did it. He went to daycare 2 days a week, and I was doing like 5 subjects. I'm like, how did I do that?
wow.
But now he's at school 5 days a week, but it's harder while he's at school because it's like restricted hours, and I don't know. It's
You're in
just
clinic now.
balancing school
Yeah.
holidays. There's always an assignment due on school holidays, which is like, thanks. So yeah, that's
Have you
a
got
big
any
challenge.
tips for mum guilt?
Oh my God, no. Oh, I don't know. I guess just I try to spend quality time with him, and I try to plan ahead. So when it's school holidays, if I've got, well, I have always have an assignment due for some reason on school holidays, I'll make sure I start it and try and finish it before they start, so that I get to just spend that time with him and I don't have to focus on study.
Yeah, great.
Yeah.
Where can our audience find you if they want to know more about you or see
Yeah.
more of your content?
So I've got an Instagram page. It's small at the moment, and I want to start posting more. I haven't got a lot on there. My handle is Yasmin Joy _. So it's just my name. And I do have a YouTube channel, but I haven't posted on there for over a year. And
Cool.
I've only got one. I've only got one track, and I did that before the hypnosis thing. I probably did it maybe 1 or 2 years ago. I just did like a subliminal track, which is just basically, I don't know if you know what that is. It's
Yeah, yeah.
affirmations that are sped up and looped, and then a like a relaxing song on top of it. So I've got one for health. The reason I did that was just because I was not feeling well at the time. And I do love to listen to hypnosis and subliminals, but I kind of didn't trust anyone else's subliminals. I was like,
Yeah.
what have they got in there? So I
Yeah.
made one myself, and I just popped it on YouTube. I haven't checked on it for a long time or done anything. I did plan on doing more, but I just got caught up with life.
I'll put those
Yeah.
links in the description. And
Yeah.
is Instagram where you're most active if people want to see you
Yeah.
on your study and catch up with you if you're
Yes.
graduating?
Yeah, definitely. So, and I'm also down, I'm in Endeavour College. So I'm doing treatments at the moment on Mondays. So if you're on the Gold Coast, it's in Southport. You can book in with me for a treatment there. Yeah. So I'll be there all year, but my days will change for different clinic blocks.
Fantastic. Thank you so much for being on the podcast. This has been so great chatting with you.
Yeah. Thanks for having me.
Thank you so much for tuning into the podcast. I hope you felt inspired and uplifted from that interview. If you would like to like and rate us on your chosen listening provider, that would really help the podcast get discovered by other people and help me out in just my overall visibility. Please feel free to send in any feedback, questions. I'm more than happy to answer any of those at my social Danalora D Naturopathy. I'm on all of the major platforms: TikTok, Instagram, Facebook. I'm most active on Instagram though. Also, if you would like to be featured on the pod, all I ask is that you be a student in Australia and that you are in the complementary health field in some capacity. I'm always interested in interviewing new people, so please just shoot me a message and I'll get back to you as soon as possible. Thank you so much for tuning in, and I hope that you all have a lovely rest of your day. Bye-bye.